Okay, welcome everybody. Today is February, what is it, January 27th? Is that where we are today, or 28th?
Yeah.
2022. Thank you so much. Today it's session number 5 of Tom Ferry's 10-week program. So we're halfway there. So tell me, last week we talked about making you more findable, things that you can do by getting on social networks, social media networks, and so forth. Finding a way for you to become more findable, to make sure that you are everywhere where people are, as much as you can afford to be there. You can do it again. You can do it with sweat equity, you can do it with your fingers by actually getting on sites, or you can spend a lot of money to get found by people. We talked about last week the importance of reviews and testimonials, and I sing that song often. It's really an important song for all of us to be able to sing and to be able to have in our arsenal of the effects that will help us do more business. Discuss the power of video and how important video is, and as well as blogging and being found on Facebook and Twitter and commenting and engaging, not in political battles or religious battles, but in the stuff that helps attract people to you. And we got one more person that's in the waiting room. Let me hit that. We also talked about the speed to lead. So I don't want you to forget the speed to lead term, because it means for you, whether you get a lead on Boomtown from Paul, whether you get a lead that you work to generate, it's about speed to lead. And don't think for a minute that if you wait to engage people that have reached out to you or that have made themselves available to you, don't think for a minute that they're going to give up waiting for you after seconds, not minutes, after seconds, because we can be found everywhere, or real estate agents can be found everywhere. So speed to lead was super important. I left you, or Tom Ferry left you, with a number of scripts for working with buyers, and actually questions when you engage them, when you first meet them, and for sellers, for your listing presentation, what kind of questions do you ask of your sellers? So we touched on those last week. So how's everybody doing? Are you engaging with the material? Is it something that you're putting somewhere and you plan to do it later? Are there a few things that you have grabbed from this that you are using? Anyone? I'd love to hear how you might be using some of the things that Tom has introduced us to, because we're halfway there. We're halfway to the 10 weeks, and we should be seeing some progress. You should be seeing some effects from the things that you're doing. This isn't necessarily an overnight business, although we're going to be talking about something that can really help you overnight. But how's everybody doing? Anybody have anything to give to the group that might say, you know, I did this, and as a result, I got this? Because it's always give to get. Anyone have anything? Nothing stands out. Well, look over your notes from the past 4 weeks, and when we're done today, the 5th week, look into these sheets that we're providing to you, and be sure not to just put it aside at the desk. Find the 2 or 3 things today that can help you get to the next step in your business. Okay, don't want to beat it too much, but that's what I would suggest. Okay, I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Let's see how this thing goes. I'm hitting share screen, and you are screen. Can you guys see my screen? Can you see? It's working. I'm going to, just a second, I'm going to get on my hands and knees, and I'm going to pray a little bit and thank God for allowing this to happen. Okay, so today we're talking about mega open houses. A question for all of you right now, and I'd love to hear from you. Tell me, you've all been in business for different lengths of time. Some are literally brand new. Some have been doing this for a while and have a number of closings under their belt. Who taught you how to do open houses. When you got into the business and when you did your first open house, who taught you how to do it? I'd love to hear where you learned the method that you're using. Jump in.
Initially, when we started, when me and my wife were doing it together, we had no one. We just kind of winged it at first because we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't really have the right. This is before exit, just so everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But we had to actually look up our own resources, and we used a lot of the stuff from, exits, resources to know how to do that, lists and different things, because we didn't know to have a sign-up sheet. We would just do it and hand out cards, and we didn't know what we were doing. We were just kind of winging it.
Okay, so I'm writing down winging it because
it's common.
It's common, right? Anyone else? How did someone come from heaven and strike something and say you now are all knowing, or how did you do it?
Nope, just kind of winging it. But beforehand, at least I connected with a lender that had a tool that I could use for signups and some flyers and things like that. But other than like going with somebody to show me how to do it, nope.
No way. Nope. So Jerry did a little bit more. He winged it, but he did it with a lender. So that's good. How anyone else?
We kind of learned that a little bit later in our time to invite lenders, and then they would bring snacks and stuff too.
Sure. Yeah. They would help feed the people that come. That's always a good thing. All right. Anyone else? One other.
Yeah, I had a couple when I was with another brokerage and stuff. I had a couple people, kind of tell me this is what you should do. This is what you should do. And this is the one thing that I've wanted to do. I mean, I'm all about open houses. I already have all my signage. I have all my directions, things like that, how to present, how I want to present, different things that I've tried. And I don't really think anymore that the snacks and the cookies and stuff, they're not there. I mean, it's today's day and age, and I think that's kind of moved on. But some people say, well, should you have a sign-in sheet, or should you do this? You're not going to know until they walk in. I mean, I've done quite a few open houses. I do think that you can get your leads from them, but I think just finding something that works for you. So I'm super excited to find out what else is out there in this today's thing. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kim. It's good comments. So today, maybe we're going to be talking about something that you hadn't thought about, or Tom Ferry is going to talk about something that maybe you hadn't thought about, or something to do. Here's the good news. A couple comments were, I winged it. One, Kim from being at Keller there were a couple agents that said, well, here's how I do it. And I'm guessing how I do it is winging it, just basically here's how I do it. Here, the good news is that's how most agents do open houses. They wing it. I can't tell you how many times I've walked into open houses of other agents, other companies, where they're comfortably sitting on a couch or in a chair, and they're reading a newspaper, a book, or watching, if it's a Sunday, especially the NFL. And by God, don't disturb me. My team's playing on television. It's even worse now because, there's sports everywhere. So if you're a sports addict, I remember having to give up watching, football on Saturdays or Sundays. But now it's everywhere. So that's what is good news. If you do something beyond what everybody else is doing, you can stand out in your open house community when you're doing that. So today we're going to look at, as you can see on the sheet, we're going to look at mega open houses explained, how to start, preparing for the event, how to work it, and after the event is over, what do you do? So hopefully the outcomes will be that you'll understand what a mega open house is, and you may decide that, I'm going to try one. I am going to do one and see how this works, and see if I can change the perception of how I work, and maybe believe in something again that can really help me. We're going to learn to market open houses. Hopefully the outcome will be maximizing your time with the open house, generating 3 potential sellers from an open house. Don't want to exaggerate things. Let's just say, if Tom Ferry says something and says, I usually cut it in half, to be honest. I cut whatever he says in half because I think that's realistic. Okay, he's a pretty optimistic guy and teaches and coaches a lot of optimistic people. Anybody that's willing to give them $1,000 a month better be a little bit optimistic, or they're out of their minds or have way too much money. So generating sellers from an open house, something maybe you hadn't thought about before. And I often forget because we might think it's all about bringing in buyers and hopefully bringing in buyers that aren't attached to a real estate agent that we can actually help. And that is part of an open house. The mega open house approaches it as a different way. So the number one goal of a mega open house is to meet 3 potential sellers minimum. That would be the best case scenario, if that was possible. So this is what a mega house is. It's a place where you can meet 2 to 3 potential sellers. Secondly, but still on number 1, a mega open house is a place where you can focus on the neighbors, focus on the neighborhood. Next, still with number 1, it's a place where you can actually have a listing opportunity with people who come to your open house and notice that you're doing things differently than what they've seen from any other open house they've ever attended. So you want to stand out. And you want to, still at number 1, consider making it a small party for the neighborhood. Kind of a going away party for the sellers. Think of it that way. A way for people to connect with you, to meet you, and see what you're doing for your sellers. And we want to be able to take sellers to the next step if they do decide to sell their homes. Number 2 is when to use an open house, a mega open house. I always did a mega open house when it was a special property, not just an ordinary, an ordinary home, but a special property, because I knew it was going to take time. It was going to take resources. It was going to take time. It was going to take money. And I wanted a place that was special. Now, special can mean a number of things, everyone. It can mean a home that is located on the perfect street with the perfect traffic flow where everybody is going to see your open house. It isn't, but it could be, but it generally isn't a place that's hidden back in the sticks, so to speak, unless you have the way to get people to that open house. And when to use an open house is when you want to differentiate yourself from everybody else. We'll touch on that a bunch of times, but you want to do it usually in a neighborhood you want to dominate. Now, we're in a little bit of a predicament. All of us are. If we look at the listings our company has, I think we might have 1. We had 3, I think it's down to 1. It's pathetic, but we're not alone. Our company is not alone. Maybe on the weak side compared to companies that have a lot of veteran agents who have been in the business for a long time, but it takes time to build your business where you have listings. This is where the mega open house can help you with the listings that you have, and also help secure listings by having one item on the way you do business differently that everybody else that you can point out. You see, when I do listing presentations, I look for differentiations between me and you guys and any other agent. If I were doing a listing today and I knew that Tom was coming in the house an hour after me, and Jerry and Kim later, and even Mike, what I'm going to be looking for is, if I want the listing, is how to differentiate myself from everybody else. I don't want to be like Mike, and I can't be Mike. Mike has qualities that I could never have. And I know that, whether it's Jerry or Mike or Kim, or it doesn't matter, but I've got to look for differentiators that can help me have the one item that might click with the seller. So when I do a mega open house, I want to do it in a place where I want to dominate the neighborhood, if that's possible. Okay. Sometimes it takes getting your first listing, but let me just say this: doing a mega open house on someone else's listing is not out of line. You still have the availability to differentiate yourself from everybody else. Number C, or letter C, you want to do one when there's a price reduction and you need to bring people back to the property. Things maybe have gone stale. Not likely in this market. For those of you that have been in the business for a while, things can become stale, and sometimes the market isn't as the way it is now, where it's setting records for the last couple of years. But it's a place where you can re-energize a listing, and you can show your value to a seller. One of my fears when I list a property is that I'm going to lose momentum, and all the buyers are going to come in the first week or two, and then it's going to fizzle. And I make a practice of calling my sellers every week, and I suggest you do when we talk about listing presentations and so forth. But I want to be able to call them and have something to say that might be worth them hearing. I don't want to have fear to call them on Friday because no one's looked at their house again this week. And so this is a way for you to re-energize a listing that you have. So I want you to think listings, okay? You don't have them right now. You will have them if you do the right things in this business. So this is just kind of a primer for you, so when you get listings. Number 3, when not to use an open house. When not to use a mega open house. Well, you don't want to use a mega open house in a price range that you don't want more listings for. You know, if you have a dog of a listing, and we've all had them. Those of us that have been in the business, we've all had them. We've taken listings and we think, why, God, why did I do that? You walk out the door shuts behind you, and you think, oh my God, why did I do that? And how am I going to sell this thing? There is a buyer for everything, but you're not going to necessarily want to do a mega open house in a price range where you can't or aren't willing to spend a lot of time. And again, be in an area that's not geographically, let me try to get my phone turned off. Okay, geographically desirable. Okay, so you want to do it in the best possible place. So how do you start? And let's start talking about what a mega open house is. How do you start? First of all, know that doing a mega open house is a dedication. It isn't a quick, easy, always fun thing to do. Okay, so you can decide not to watch the rest of this if you're looking for something that's really simple. If you want something simple, do what every other agent does, and pull up in front of the house 3 minutes before it starts, and maybe have 1 or 2 signs, stick them up, sit on a couch and wait for somebody to come. And if you get lucky, they do. And if and it ends at 4 o'clock, and at 5 minutes to 4, you're getting a little itchy and you want to get home because you want to get something to eat or whatever it is. You don't want that. So first of all, getting started, pick a date to give yourself enough time to set things up properly. Now, depending on what your mega open house is going to look like, you may decide that you're going to have food there. You may decide that you're going to have flyers and other materials. You may decide that you're going to have a lender take part in that open house with you. So you want to give yourself enough time to set things up. So you're not there while people are walking in the front door and you're running all over the house, turning on lights or doing whatever you have to do to get the house ready for the mega open house. Let me just do this. Excuse me 1 second. Okay. Number two, pick a great partner. Think about this now, not before you do the open house. Talked to Kim yesterday, and we talked about partners, and I've talked to the other Kim, both Kims. I've talked how important it is to have three lenders and three of everybody, three title companies, people that you can work with. So pick a great partner. Pick somebody who might be as excited as you are to do a mega open house. Someone who is willing to help with the cost, someone who's willing to help with walking the neighborhood, if you choose to do that, and with a mega open house, you will do that. Someone who's a great partner, sharing in cost, sharing in time. Then you have to decide, what are you going to do for the mega open house? So I want you to vision the mega open house. So you're working with Mr. and Mrs. Jones. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that at the open house, Mr. and Mrs. Jones are there with you. Now, this may seem crazy, but you want them there for the first part of the mega open house. Because when people come from the time period we select, which we'll just talk about in a minute, you want the owners to be there, to generally say something good about you, where you meet them at the door, you meet people coming, say, hi, I'm Jim Mazziotti, I'm from Exit Realty Elite. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, have you met them? I know they're your neighbors sometimes where, we don't meet our neighbors as much as we should, but have you met? Oh, this is Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Sometimes people will say, well, where are you folks going and why are you moving and so forth. So decide that what you want to do, and if you want to feed people. So we're going to be talking about doing lunch or a wine and cheese. And guess who might be able to help you with the lunch? If you don't want to fork out $400 for wine and cheese, who might be able to help you with lunch?
The seller might do it.
Seller might do it. Who else might do it?
Your partners.
The partners. You want to use the partners. There's something in it for them, because if somebody happens to be there that is buying a property, they may be looking for a lender if they don't have one. Your seller may need a lender for the next place where they're going, or even a referral for that. So decide whether you want to feed people and what you want to feed them. And you'll get more of this as we go. Get your marketing together. Now, getting the marketing together, I suggest you do this 2 weeks ahead of time if you can, at least a week ahead of time. Get your stuff together so it's an event. It's not just something that is happening. I was thinking this morning, I went into a Dollar General store to grab something, and then I was walking through the aisles. They're just jam-packed, and you can hardly, or at least me, because I'm huge, it's hard walking through stuff. But as I'm walking through, I bumped into the sunglasses kiosk thing, the little kiosk where it's got a mirror, and you have to bend over to put the glasses on and see yourself in the mirror and all that stuff. And it just kind of sits somewhere. And many times I believe these kiosks with sunglasses or whatever product it is are just set there. They're set there. No one's really thought about it a lot. In some places, they've done marketing and they know that, people walk past this, they're going to grab a candy bar and all that kind of stuff. But I want you to think about your open house not being the sunglass stand in the Dollar General store that is just there, and people bump into it and they only notice it by mistake. You don't want to be noticed by mistake. Okay, so here's our marketing plan, and we'll get into time factors and all that stuff in just a second here. So on Monday, you want to talk to Tom about his home that he has listed. Tom's very busy. And so you might say, Tom, I know you've got this home. If it's still going to be available, we know it's a quick, fast market, but I would like to do an open house there. I don't have dates in front of me, but let's just say on Saturday, February 9th, okay? I would like to do one. Could I do that for you? He'd have to clear all of that. And so you want to be able to do this ahead of time, not on Thursday, which usually happens. I've seen it here. I've seen it everywhere. On Thursday or Friday, people are going, oh my God, I need to get ready for an open house. You want to do it well ahead of time. So what if you on Monday recorded a video invitation? What if you went to the house and you just did a 1 or 2 minute video from outside of the house? You don't even have to get access to the house. You can do a video where you're standing in front of the house and you hold your camera and you just say, hi, everybody. This is Jim Mazziotti from Exit Realty Elite, and I'm standing in front of 123 Apple Street, and I'm going to be doing an open house here next Saturday from 2 to 4. I'm going to have food for everyone, going to have whatever, sandwiches and ice cream for the kids. And this will be a chance for you to meet the people who live there. And I would just like to invite you to the party. This is a 2-bedroom, 3-bath home, and I think it's just lovely. And by the way, if you know somebody who might be interested, would you mind sending them this video? I would love to have them come and help somebody find the perfect home in the perfect neighborhood. Thanks so much. I hope I see you on Saturday. So you do a quick video that's that simple, and you put it out everywhere, including something I know you guys have never thought about. Now, I could be wrong, but making that video available to the sellers and saying to the sellers, I just made a video for the open house that I'm doing. Would you mind sending that out to everyone that you know on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram? Would you get it out? Because the more we get this information out, the more people will have. And listen, we're trying to market your home. I'm doing my very best, and I need a little bit of your help to market it. So if you can send it out and maybe even ask your kids to send it out, your Aunt Willie, Millie that lives down the street, whomever, ask your friends, relatives to get this message out, because you really want to get the home sold so you can move, to Atlanta, Georgia. Then you also want to make sure you send that video to your partners. You want them to have it. So if you're working with a lender, if you're working with a title company, whomever you're working with, send them the video and ask them the same thing. Hey, I've got a great listing. I would love to have you stop by the open house. And by the way, if you have any buyers or sellers in your database, and guess what? Do lenders have buyers and sellers in their database? Would you please send this off? I would love for the sellers to have a huge turnout at their home, and so that we can get it sold, and hopefully maybe even use you as a lender for somebody that stops by the open house. Have you ever done anything like that? Have you ever asked anybody to help you with that? Have you ever done a video? Okay, so video is hugely important. On Tuesday, email your video to the database, post it to everywhere that you can, and have your sellers post it as well. Wednesday, to get the word out, send invitations by mail or door knock. Door knock? Oh my God, I don't want to have to door knock anything. I know it's a fearful thing for a lot of us. But when you door knock with a purpose, and you're not asking anybody to buy anything, it doesn't have to be a terrible experience for you and or the people whose door you knock. Usually when they're answering the door, they're thinking that it's somebody with a Bible or a vacuum cleaner, one of the two things. And most people don't want to answer the door to that, or if they are polite enough to answer the door, they're expecting the worst. What if you gave them the best? That you would say, good morning. I'm Jim from Exit Realty Elite. Hey, I'm stopping by today because I'm inviting you to a party I'm having on Saturday, just up the street. You might have seen that Bob and Mary's home, it has a for sale sign in front of it. And I'm doing an open house, and I'm inviting all the neighbors to come for lunch. I would love to have you come for lunch. And I'm doing lunch between 11:30 and 1 o'clock. And we're going to have whatever, roast beef sandwiches and Coke, whatever that recipe might be, or whatever that lunch might be. I'd love for you to come. And by the way, if you know of anybody looking for a beautiful home in your beautiful neighborhood, would you please let them know that I'm doing this open house? I look forward to seeing you at 11:30, between 11:30 and 1 o'clock. Is that hard if you're inviting somebody to lunch? It usually hasn't been. You're not trying to sell anything. You're just saying, stop by, say goodbye to the neighbors, see the home, maybe be able to, you'll be able to help somebody that's looking to buy a home, because we're in a marketplace right now where you don't have to say too much, but we're in a place where homes are flying off the shelves. And I want you to get the first look at the open house. And so I'm only going to have people in the neighborhood from 11:30 to 1 o'clock, because I'm not doing the actual open house until 1 o'clock. I'd love for you to come and give them the flyer. I did this all the time. What I targeted around the open house was as many homes as I could do, as many as I had time to fit into my schedule. And so it could be 50. I think that's weak. I think it could be 100. That's getting better. But if you did 150 homes in the neighborhood, you're doing two things. You're demonstrating to your sellers that you have a process and a method to market their home in a way that no one else will do. Have you heard of anybody else that walks neighborhoods with open house flyers? Maybe, but I doubt it. It just,
we did it.
Right?
Once we learned how to do it, we did it.
Yeah. And so, but you were out of the ordinary in doing it, Mike, because most agents didn't. They didn't have a method to it. So think about door knocking your flyers. What if in your listing presentation, let's just go that direction for a second. What if in your listing presentation, you have all the things you're going to do that separate you from other agents? And what if on that list of things, because that's what, when we do the seller's presentation here, we're going to be looking for differentiators. What if you had, and I am going to walk your neighborhood to introduce everyone to the new listing, and I'm going to be doing that. I actually show them a calendar and what day I'm going to be doing it. This, I show them day by day exactly what I'm going to be doing. I show them 30 days of value that I am actually going to do it. It's not about getting the paperwork signed, leaving, getting it on the MLS and waiting. I show them what I'm doing every day, and I do them. I show it when I'm going to put it on Facebook, when I'm going to do a video, where I'm going to post a video, how I'm going to do it. But on my list of differentiators, I show that I'm going to walk the neighborhood the week that I list it, and I'm going to walk it again when I do a mega open house in the neighborhood. No one else will do that. I promise. No, you're not going to have anybody say, the guy from ABC Realty, he does that too. That's crap. They don't. They will not be doing it. You would be the only person doing it. So here's what Sunday looks like when you do the open house. From 9:30 to 11 o'clock, you put out as many signs as possible. Now, I don't know, I'm new here. What kind of sign challenges does anybody have? I know in some neighborhoods, I'm guessing, in some neighborhoods, signs have to be a certain size. Sometimes they have to be wood. Sometimes they have to be green. I've seen it all. But what kind of obstacles do you have that to put up signs for an open house that you're aware of? Because I think
I have a,
go ahead.
sorry, in Trophy Club, you need to make sure that you check the area. There are people that'll go pick up your directional signs, you don't get them back. They don't want directional signs out there anywhere at Trophy Club and some of those subdivisions out there. So they'll go pick your directional signs up, you'll lose them.
Okay, so that's a reality. People can pick up signs. People who don't like signs can just take them down just because they're ornery. And are we in ornery times where people don't get along? Yeah, we're in very, ornery times where people just, I had a guy in one neighborhood that I did where I put the signs up, and as I was driving back, all the signs were down, laying flat on the ground. And the guy was just a guy that didn't like signs. He thought it made his neighborhood look crappy, and so he didn't like them. I had one realtor take down all the signs because it was they were foreclosure signs. And he happened to live in a neighborhood, and he didn't want people to think that the neighborhood was going downhill. I mean, so signs will come down. The best thing you can do with signage is ask permission to put it in people's yards. If you're going to put a sign up, ask for permission to put it in their yard. Go to the door, meet them, say, I'm going to, if it's okay with you, I'd like to put a sign up in your yard from 9 o'clock to about 5 o'clock today. Would that be okay? Most people will say, well, of course. Some will say no, because I know where the stake goes, weeds will come up once you pull the stake out, right? Because you're going to be killing my grass. Some will say, yeah, realtors never have asked me. They just put them up, and many times they don't even bother to pick them back up. So we have a reputation that we have to outrun the, what the competition is doing. If you ask, you may receive. Kim, in areas that you talked about, they may have HOA rules that won't allow you to put up a certain number of signs. So you need to know the rules of where signs can go, how many you can put up. If there are right-of-way issues with the county, with the city, there's rules. You can find a lot of them, and many times your title person might know. They may know more than you because they talk to a lot of agents. And so find out if signs are allowed. So if you were going to do one, where would you get the signs? And I don't know. Tell me about signs in our office, Jerry. And Mike, maybe do we have open house signs for you, for agents?
I don't know. I think there may be some in the office or not. I know I've over the years, I've just bought the directional ones, the little plastic ones from Home Depot or whatever like that, and kind of acquired a good amount of those.
Okay.
So, I mean, over time, that's kind of a cheap way of doing it. But I did do an open house one weekend, and it was like from 2 to 4, and I was like, well, I'll just leave them out overnight because I'm gonna be back at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. Yeah, I lost like 8 signs that night.
Yeah,
they were just gone. So luckily I had more, but I don't know if there may be some in the office. I don't think there's a lot. And then some agents have the big, nice, fancy ones that they put out, and then other ones, like I said, like Kim was talking about, if you get the little directional ones that cost you a couple bucks a piece, if someone took it or threw it away, or code enforcement came by and picked it up, yeah, you lost it, but you didn't lose a whole lot.
it's not the end of the world. I got to tell you a funny story. It's funny to me. Years ago, when I was a realtor in small town Iowa, I got a call, and these aren't open house signs, these are for sale signs. And at that time, I think I had 22 listings in this town that I was. So I had a lot of listings, had 22 listings. I got a call early morning from the superintendent of schools. And he said, Jim, did someone on the school board or otherwise list the high school with your company? And I said, what are you talking about? Ken was his name. You're talking about Ken. He says, well, there's 20 signs in front of the high school saying for sale. Could you come and get them? So I had to go pick up the signs. So somebody went to a lot of work to pull all of my signs. I don't think it was another realtor. It was probably maybe the kids of another realtor or something. But that same thing, by the way, can happen to your open house signs. Here's what I might suggest to all of you. Getting into this business is an investment, okay? Paying for your courses and CE and everything else, exit fees, all the stuff. This isn't free. You found that out. You're putting a lot of money into this. And I would suggest that open house signs might be something you put on your list as a must-have. And to have, maybe like Jerry, an open house kit. So when you do an open house, you're ready to go. The kit sits in the same place in your garage or wherever it might be, and you might have 12 signs, whatever, and you can go. It's a go-to whenever you're doing open houses. I would never depend on the company to provide you all the signs that you might need. Tom Ferry suggests, as we'll see in a minute, that you put up 25 signs for an open house. That's what he teaches. That's a lot of signs, and you can spend a lot of time. If he has on here 9:30 to 11 o'clock, put out as many signs as possible. 25 signs is going to take a while. So I would say you put out as many as you physically can, and that are allowed where you're at. So you put up the signs, you get back to the house, around 11 o'clock, and you get ready for the lunch. And it's the seller's lunch, and you do that from 11:30 to 1, and from 1 to 4, you're ready to go. You tell the owners of the home, okay, you can go now, I will do the open house, and thank you for being here to meet the neighbors and all of that, and maybe to tell your story. Sometimes you got to be careful. You don't want the seller saying too much. You want to keep them quiet. You got to tell them that don't tell things that you shouldn't be telling. Don't tell people that the furnace is only 2 years old when you're not sure, and it actually might be 15 years old. I had that happen with somebody that was in the early stages of Alzheimer's. Told people that the roof was 5 years old, and we closed on the property. They did a little more. This buyers did investigation, found that the roof was like 18 years old or something, and that was not a good thing. So be careful what the sellers might say. So here's a prep list.
518, what's the difference?
Yeah. Well, I think, as I recall, Mike, the difference was like $1,200 that I came up with to give to the buyer who was pissed off because he said we misrepresented the property. And I said, where did he hear that? And he said, well, Glenn told me. I said, Glenn? I said, where did you talk to Glenn? This wasn't even an open house. He happened to be driving by and he was interested, and he stopped and talked to Glenn, and poor Glenn, whose wife had just died, was all distraught and dementia besides. So anyhow, so here's the prep list for your open house. You need to have knowledge of what's going on around that open house. What's going on in the neighborhood, know the numbers, know how many homes are in the Providence subdivision, know how many homes are there, know how many have sold in the last 6 months, in the last year, know how many are listed, pending, have expired, know the market around your property. You also want to know of as many houses as you can. I would say 2 or 3, not as many, 2 or 3 homes that are like homes to what you're doing an open house with. So if you're doing an open house on a brown house, 2-bedroom, 3-bath brown house, single level with an average size yard, you want to also know of other ones like that that are available in the neighborhood. Because if somebody walks in to your open house and they hate it, and you might say, so what do you think of this home? Does it fit the needs of your family? They might say, well, we really don't like it. You want to be able to say, I understand where you're coming from. You want a little bigger backyard or whatever it might be. I know of a house over on Apple Street and one on Orange Street that are very similar to this one. I would love to show them to you. When would be a good time to show them to you? 2 or 4. Johnny Lowy, who used to be, none of you will know, but Johnny Lowy years ago was one of the instructors for Exit Corporate. He was one of the big boys up there. He really wasn't big. He was only like 4'8", was a former jockey, but that's besides the point. Johnny Lowy, when people came into the open house, if he didn't know of others that were like that, he would say to people, and this is exactly how he did it. He would say to them, oh, I know of a couple homes that are on the market. I'm not sure they're available, but when I get back to the office, can I look them up and get back to you? He wouldn't even know if there were any houses like that, but he would set up another call with them. And if it wasn't the perfect home for them, he would suggest that they look at a couple others. So know what's going on around the open house, know the numbers, the financing option sheet. Get something from your lender before you go to the open house, so people know how much the payments might be with 5% down, 10% down, 20% down, maybe a VA loan as opposed to an FHA loan. Have a financing option sheet. You don't want people, if you can help it, leave a house not knowing if they can afford it, or have any idea whether they can afford it, or how to get financed and so forth. You also want to have the financing option sheets there for the to show the sellers that you are prepared for the open house. Okay, you're demonstrating professionalism by having it. There's something called open house, and I think it's called Open Home Pro. Open Home Pro. You might search for it. It's on your tablet. You can connect, and people can sign in on your tablet rather than on a sign-in sheet on paper. It's just something. There are things. It costs more money. I always use sign-in sheets. Don't forget them. Ask people to please sign for them. If you do have something in the home that you're giving away, a flower arrangement, a basket of fruit or whatever it might be, people will generally put their name and their email, phone number on something like that. A lot of times on sign-in sheets, you might get Mickey Mouse from 102 Happy Street at Disneyland. Those aren't going to do you much good. You want to get people to be authentic as you can. Please have some business cards. Make sure you have business cards. Have property flyers of the home. I just did some property flyers last week for someone here that didn't have the time or didn't know how or have access to them. Have nice flyers. If you don't have time, ask your lender, ask title to help you with the flyers. Know that you can be on one side and your lender can be on the back side. And so it's the double benefit for you and the lender. It's just not you saying, gimme, gimme. It's say, hey, would you give me? And I'd like to share. So people, all the people coming through the open house might see your name. And when they're looking for a title company, they'll think of you first. Okay?
Jim, do you make your
Cool.
flyers on the Exit website?
Yes, I make it on Promo Shop.
Yeah, it's super easy if you guys haven't used it.
Promo Shop costs like $25 a month. It has a CRM built in, and it has newsletters. It has a lot of stuff. If you haven't seen it, go into our Exit corporate site, and when you do whatever, just click on Promo Shop or whatever it is. And if you need help, let me know. Then you're going to want something, a laptop or an iPad. So if you do have internet access, always check that out with the seller, whether you have internet so you can get the passwords before you actually need them, passwords to connect to the internet so you can search for properties. Make sure you have that as well. One thing that isn't on here, I actually put it on my list, is I always bring something that will play music. I hate a dead room where there's no sound. It's weird to me. It gets too quiet when you don't have the right words to say. So I always have something that calms people. And I don't put on rap or turn it up to 10. Let's have some nice background music like I have in here right now, something as background music. So working the mega open house. So how to work the mega open house. Let me see if I can find that sheet, pick a date. We did all that. How to start. Give me 1 second, my fingers are stuck. Okay. I don't see the working the mega open house, but there it is. Next, 5.4, how to work the mega open house. You want to, I would suggest, Tom suggests, stand at the front door with your sellers when it's that period of time where the neighbors are coming. Stand at the front door so people won't miss you. Know that you don't have to follow people around your open house. You do want to introduce yourself. You do want to give, if your sellers are there, the sellers a chance to say how great you are and how much they have loved the house and are looking forward to moving to Atlanta or whatever it must. Be there to meet people at the front door. You don't have to chase people around unless you see a real shark opportunity, but people will usually wait for you. Okay. Number 2, be prepared to answer the question, how's the market? Have we talked about that before here? How's the market? Probably when we talked about that in scripts class, our answer was, it depends. Maybe this isn't, it depends. Maybe it's this neighborhood. Oh, the market in this area is fabulous. Things are moving quickly. And especially homes like this that are 2-bedroom, blah, 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 blah. So how's the market? And so the second thing is it really going to sell for this? Because so many people, especially now, they're flabbergasted when they see your flyer and it says 550 when they think it really should only be 450. Be ready to not argue about the value of your home. Be ready to educate people on why the property is that price by using comparables. And then say, when they say, is it really going to sell for this? Tom Ferry believes what they're really asking is, how much will my home sell for? That's the real question they're asking. And so you want to be able to help them say, here's the statistics, blah, blah, blah. I'd be curious about what your home might sell for. I would love to meet with you on Tuesday, blah, 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 whatever it is, to set up an appointment. Okay. Once the lunch is over, make sure, as I said, you have the seller leave so you can hold the open house. So the conversation at the open house, the most successful agents meet potential buyers and ask, how did you find the home? One of the biggest mistakes I still make is I forget to ask, how did you find me? Did you find me by the signs? Did you find me by Facebook? Did you find me by the ad I did at our Exit Corporate site or from Craigslist? How did you find me? You need to know that so you know in the future, what are the best methods to use for people to find you at an open house, okay? How long have you been looking for a home? What that brings out is for people to say how long they've been looking for homes, or to tell you that they're not, they're just curious and they're walking the neighborhood. Okay. Number 3, what sites are you looking at? So how are you finding out about homes that are on the market and so forth? It gives you the opportunity to place yourself as, the expert that can help them find the right home. What sites are you looking on? How's the home marketing search going? How's it going so far? I have a system I'd love to introduce you to at no cost to you that will help you find homes at no cost to you, where you don't miss out on new listings because you get them minutes after they're placed on the MLS, not a day or two after they're placed on the MLS. Number 5, I specialize in helping people like you find the right home in the right neighborhoods at the right price with the right terms. Is that something you would be interested in? Probably something good to put in your vocabulary, not necessarily to, have the script in front of you so you have to look at it. But you know what? I specialize in helping people just like you find the right home in the right neighborhood at the right price, and especially with the right terms. I would love to be able to help you. Is that something you might be interested in? Okay. Tom's distinction is actually distinction. The important thing about distinction, and that's what we're talking about here. For you to do your job is converting leads to buyers and sellers, and do so in a distinctive way so they can't miss you and they won't forget about you. After the event is over, a lot of us fail. We go home. If we have some names, we lose that list. We can't find it, but we just go home and we're tired and we don't do anything. Make sure you follow up. Remember, speed, speed is all about everything in this business. Make sure you get people the things you promised them you were going to get to them. Consider sending them a text or an email. If you captured it on your signing list, be sure to send a text or an email. It was so good seeing you at the open house. I hope you enjoyed the lunch and meeting the sellers. I hope I have the opportunity to work with you in the future in selling your home and buying a home, whatever. You might have gotten that. And lastly, a personal note or a personal note. A personal note, usually days after, is something where you can stick a card in because they probably have lost it. You probably didn't give them your mobile business card because a lot of us fail at that. But send them a personal note with that and say, it was so good to see you. We had a great time. And fortunately, we found the perfect buyers for Bill and Mary so they can make their move to Atlanta, something like that. Number 3, schedule 45 minutes or an hour immediately after the open to do this follow-up, okay, to get it all done. Think of the little things, because if you don't do it right away, you're going to forget. You're going to forget special things about Tom that came into the open house with his wife, Betty. You're going to forget that they have 2 German Shepherd purebred dogs that are trained and they train them or something. You're going to forget that stuff. Those are connection points. You're always looking for a connection point that makes you understanding of who they are and maybe like them. People that like to hike, people that like to play summer softballs, people, you want to find connection points. I need a yard because my kids are growing up and we're going to build a play structure. What if you sent them a picture of a play structure that you saw on Amazon that might be $739, but say, you might even say, you told me about the play structure you would like for your kids because you didn't have one growing up and you had to walk 3 blocks to the park on old rusty stuff. I thought you might enjoy seeing something that would fit perfectly in the backyard of that home. Please let me know if you have any interest in moving further with this. Think of the little things, the tiny things that will connect you to people. The action steps. Here's the action steps. Schedule time for your hour of power every day, right? Don't stop this. Keep this going. I hope you're doing it. Your hour of power every day, the 5 + 5 + 4. Schedule an hour or more this week to work on your business. Not in it, but on it. Okay. If you have a listing coming up, organize a mega open house. If you think that you will do a mega open house, even if you don't have a listing, put it on your list of the things that differentiate you from everybody else. Remember, distinction. You want to be distinct from other people. Next, check out the video bonus items. You can't do that because that's a Tom Ferry thing. But I'm going to send you a video of one of the most successful Tom Ferry clients. And his name is Andy C. A-N-D-Y. His last name is spelled T-S-E, pronounced C. He's in California and he does mega open houses. And on this video, he's going to talk about how he does them. So you can see the real deal. It's not some old fat guy behind a computer here in Frisco talking about it and regurgitating what Tom Ferry says. It really is coming from an agent that has done it and it's been successful. So I will put it on our Facebook page, okay? And I might email it to everybody here so you can see it and know. Lastly, attached to all of this, if you brought down and printed this presentation, there's a sample email to invite your database to an open house. There's open house dialogue. There's things, if they're out looking at open houses, that you say to people. If they live in a neighborhood, what do you say? Listen, a lot of us have the fear that we don't have the right words. That's my biggest fear for call reluctance, is that I don't have the right words or I'm going to get stumped. You don't want to get stumped, and you're going to learn the right words, and it's going to be comfortable. So this is the mega open house. It's different than anything you've ever been taught. It can be as much or as little as you want it to be. Behind me, you'll see a little thing for a 56-hour open house. So I did some open houses. I'm going to tell you all about how I did 2 56-hour open houses and what that meant to me financially, and how doing something not quite like this, but doing and making a mega open house can really change your business quite easily by just going the extra step, by just doing some extra things and being extra special than most agents that are lollygagging around and don't have a plan for anything. So I'd love to answer any questions anybody has, if anybody has anything. Kim?
I have something I wanted to say. First of all, need to check out Hunter at Fair Texas Title because he actually has an open house box he can give you. It's got some cool things in it, little strange things you might not think about. There's also lists out there of what people think you should have, shouldn't have, things like that. But anyway, so have your little box, have your little list of things, and just be prepared.
Yes.
Like I said, this is my thing. This is what I want to do. And then the signage. You can go to our Matrix or our Netris in Grapevine, the offices, and buy some signs. If your directional signs, they have, for us girls or whatever, they have really cool little balloon signs that say whatever on it. Just be different. Just be something else, and don't be like the person down the street that just put an open house sign up.
Yep. See, I never wanted the open house signs like everybody else had. I wanted to be distinct. So my open houses, they were mine. I made them. I had them made. I had an investment of several $100s in my signs, but they were mine. And when people were driving in the neighborhood that I was working, especially, they knew they were mine. They knew it was me. They weren't a general open house sign with just an arrow that says open house. It had me all over it. So people knew that I was working, I was active, I was successful, and I was driving traffic to that seller's home. So the next seller would say, I want him to drive traffic to my house. So you got to have the signage, decide what kind of signage you would have. And Kim, I applaud you for, this being something you want to do and being prepared. I carried a box in the trunk of my car all the time that had the essential things I had to have, because sure as heck I'd forget the list, the sign-in list. I would forget. Actually, funny, before I moved here and I was throwing things away and getting stuff ready to move, one of the things I pulled out of my box that I still have was a transistor radio. Some of you don't know what a transistor radio is, but it's a little thing that runs on batteries with an antenna that we used to listen to the World Series games when we were in middle school, listen to the Dodgers, and usually the Dodgers were in the World Series. And so, and my kid says, what is that thing? They didn't even know what it was, but I had it that I carried in my kit all the time. So at least I had some background music or something going on to take the pressure off me being Mr. Entertainment. So think about those kind of things. What other comments might you have? I'd love to hear them.
We were the same.
I wanted-
Our sign. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to add in that through my research of open houses, that they say potential buyers or people coming in are more prone to answer honestly if it's a digital device versus a paper device.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I've heard those same things. They take a digital device more seriously than paper. I've heard the same thing. When I was at my company in Bend, we had a lead generation company called YLopo, and part of YLopo's tools that were provided to us was the software, whatever, so we could do open houses. And what was nice about it is when people signed in, you would be able to send flyers to them from that. Other things that they said, do you have a plat map, or I'd like to see what's the neighborhood look like, or can you send me this? It was all, I could do it all from that tool. So look at that if you think it's something that would benefit you. And yes, people are more apt to sign something that is a digital device. Thank you for bringing that up. That's Clara, that's a good point. And it actually was in Tom Ferry's presentation. I just whizzed past it. Thank you. There were a few other comments.
Oh yeah, that was good, Clara. I agree with you. We were, like what Jim was saying, our signs had us all over. Our picture was on them, all our information, the company information, and it was very distinct. And it's even kind of funny, even if we'd only have like, well, because sometimes I'd forget where I put my signs and there'd be one up, and somebody sees one sign and they know you for some reason. That one sign, they say, I see your signs all over town. And I'm thinking in my head, I only have like a couple up around town. So, but they see them and they say, your signs are all over town. So it does stand out when you have your info.
Yep.
For sure.
Signs are huge. It shows that you're successful and that you know how to market. And who doesn't want to get your face and name out to as many people as possible? And unless you're a secret agent, you want to get it out, to everybody. I even had, a little wrapped exit car, and I had a flashing light that I would put on the top of my car in front of the open house that I was doing. And the reason I did it is because people would be able to see it from a block away if they miss my sign. And just like this morning, driving in to Frisco from my home, there was a little fender bender on 75 and traffic was backed up 2 miles, and it was nothing. People stopped to look. And if you can get people to stop and look, people would see that, and I know they get ticked off sometimes because they would think there was going to be some crime scene or something they'd be able to see, but it was my stupid little exit car with a flashing yellow light, running the battery down that would be in front of the house for 4 hours. Think of things that no one else will do. I even had this, I bought a hippopotamus costume, one of those things that people step into and it blows up with the thing. I had a person do that for directions to the house. I knew people were not going to be able to find it. There was no way, and I needed to get people there. So I bought this hippopotamus suit, had somebody stand in it with an open house sign at the street corner. Do you think people didn't see that? Everybody saw it. I mean, I know it might sound dumb, ridiculous. Your job for a seller is to get people in that house. And you want to do it legally, ethically, morally. You want to look professional. Maybe the hippopotamus didn't, it wasn't me in that thing, but you want to find ways to get people to the house. Other comments? I think there's a couple others.
You were talking about the sign-in sheets and everything like that. I've got some information that I've used or got from other agents and things like that, to where basically you take a QR code, put it on the door of the house, that sends them to a landing page that collects their information per se. And then, especially like in today's age with COVID and this, that, and the other, you could put on there, hey, owner, request that you sign in prior to coming in the home.
Yes.
And when they scan the QR code, it takes them to the landing page, they fill it out, they'll immediately get an email back because you'll have it linked to where it sends them an email. And basically it's like, well, just present the email or whatever to the agent to get access to the home. Does two things, it lets them know that you're conscious of safety, but it also knows that you got verifiable information from the person coming in the home. So you have an email address and you have a phone number, and you also sent them an item of value through that landing page as well.
Yeah, great. That's great idea. Great points. I think we all learn from each other on things to do that can help each other. Okay. All right, you guys, that's all I've got for you today. I posted something last night on our Facebook page. You might not have seen, but I'm going to do a little newsletter workshop here in the Frisco office next Thursday at noon. I'm going to see if I can get some food in here so we can feed anybody that might want to make the drive over to Frisco. I don't want to take anything away from the opening of the new office over in Grapevine, which is going to happen on the 1st. And Mike, can you tell me, is any help going to be needed for that move on tomorrow? I think it's tomorrow where the movers are coming.
The movers are coming on Saturday. But we're tearing down some things tomorrow, like taking down the TVs and the whiteboards and things like that. So we could use help with that. I don't know who all's going to be there, but I know me, Tammy, and Todd for sure. Okay. And then Paul's got a pretty full day tomorrow, so he was going to go, tear apart his office tomorrow or today, actually.
Today, okay. Well,
what time? Like, what time is this fun starting?
Well, so I'll get something a little more specific from Tammy, because when I asked her what time do you want me to be there, she just said, come whenever you can.
Okay.
So I think she's planning to be there all day, but I'm sure she could use more help than she lets on. Okay.
All right. Maybe have Tammy send a text to everybody to come, between 10 and noon or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you see Tammy on a regular basis, Mike? I don't see her here in Frisco very often.
Yeah, a few times a week when I'm at the office. So 3-4 times a week I see her.
Okay, good.
I'll talk to her in a little bit.
Okay. If anybody can be there, I know I got stuff going on, but I'll try to get there too. If nothing else, you guys have a good rest of the week, and I'll see you next Tuesday if you're going to be on the Scripps call, and next Thursday for number 6 Tom Ferry. Let me know how you're doing. Send me a text or an email. Let me know the 2 or 3 things that you're doing that are helping you in your business. And I hope you're doing some things. I'd love to hear from you. And so I at least feel like maybe this is worth your while. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.